Now let's get into it on the other side.
Hey, welcome, one and all, to On the Other Side, Leadership After Transition. I've taken a little bit of a break, but I'm back. For all of you watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't hesitate to send a comment or what along the way. Hey, listen, if you're watching this video live right now, that's great. You can find it on LinkedIn, you can find it on YouTube, Facebook groups, and all that good stuff. In the comments below, you can see all of my past shows on YouTube. And if you don't want to see this face, which I'm not angry if you don't, I understand it completely. You can listen to it on any podcast player, but the Apple Podcast link is in the comments. So jump in there and check it out. I've had some really great guests that have become really great friends of mine, from Charlinda Scales, Herb Thompson, Colonel Rob Campbell, all these folks, the Sergeant of the Army, Jack Tilley. These are guests that I've had in the past. And I'll tell you what, I've got a bunch more that have great insight on the transition. I don't tell anybody, if you don't know how to transition, I don't tell you guys how to do it. What I do is I bring guests in to share their experiences, to show you the many different variables that exist as we go through the transition process, right? So I will tell you, I'm going to give a couple shout outs right quick because I have to. One, check this out. Colonel Rob Campbell wrote this book. It's At Ease, Enjoying the Freedom You Fought For. At Ease, that's Colonel Rob Campbell. Great book, former guest. Listen to the episode. It's amazing. One of my favorite people of all time, right? Your amazing itty bitty small business for service members book. It's small. It's a good read. Colonel retired Dr. Russ Barnes, one of my favorite human beings ever. Check it out. Grab the book. It's good. The Transition Mission. Herb Thompson, A Green Beret's Approach to Transition from Military Service. Listen, if you're following Herb Thompson on LinkedIn, you probably understand why this book is valuable. I mean, he is the man, right? So check out those books. Check out those episodes in which we had a great conversation. It was amazing. Anyhow, those are shout outs. But again, I don't want to not exclude anybody that I've had in my shows in the past, because look, Charlinda Scales is killing it with mud sauce. When Shante Hall was on my show, she was Shante Hall. Now she's Dr. Shante Hall, Centurion Military Line. She's doing amazing things. And there's just a whole bunch more that have done some amazing things, touched my life. I've maintained contact, and they're doing great things for our community. Tonight, I'm really pleased to bring someone I met. It was a few years ago now. It's interesting. I met him in person at the MIC Military Influencer Conference in DC. I'm going to give a shameless shout out to Cortez Riggs. What a great event that was, and it has been, and it will continue to be. But I met him, and the one thing I noticed immediately was his presence. Right, I didn't know he was a command sergeant major. I didn't know him from anybody. Right, he just looked like just a guy. Right. But I could tell from his presence, he was asking questions to almost every vendor that was there, but not probing questions, but he wanted to know about the business. He was genuinely interested in what these people were doing. And I got to be, I found a liking in him almost immediately. So anyhow, I'm going to bring him on and we're going to talk, but I got to tell you something. This guy, right? Veterans Growing America. He's the first guest that I've ever had that had their whole logo, right? The whole logo spread on front of a NASCAR, man. I mean, it's a NASCAR. Sam Hunt Racing. They teamed up with number 26, Colin Garrett. And I'll tell you what, 2.6 million people watched that. Let me just say it again. 2.6 million people saw the logo for Veterans Growing America going around the track. That's amazing to me. And I'm really pleased and proud to bring on Command Sergeant Major retired Donnell E. Johns Sr. So without further ado, let me remove myself and bring on Donnell. What's up, Donnell? Don't forget you muted yourself. So I want to make sure that we got a free-flowing conversation. How you doing, boss?
Man, I'm doing, I don't know who that guy that you were introducing, man, but that sounded really cool. I was just like, man, is this dude me? Thank you so much for that great introduction.
Yeah, I've been told, Donnell, in certain circles, I'm like the Bruce Buffer of talk shows. I'm just kidding. I've never been told that. But I'll tell you, I've been told in certain circles that I wore this suit coat and this because I thought you were going to come like dressed to the kilt. I mean, listen, I don't know if you know this, man. There's like you have a nickname. They call you Dapper Donnell. I remember when I first saw you, man, you were dressed. I just look at, man, no joke. And this is just me being realistic. You came in, put together, you stood in a position to where people were looking at you because of the way you handled yourself. And I loved the way you kind of walked through the crowd of folks, and people were just drawn to you, and I was instantly hooked, man. So I'll tell you, I just appreciate you taking time out of your day to really spend it with me and the group of folks that are going to listen to you, and I know you're going to impact some lives starting right now, though you started years ago.
No, the day that we met, at the military influencer conference, that was really cool because that was my first time being back in the military, in military presence, right? I had stepped away from the military after I retired to just figure out who Donnell is. I was like you said, a retired command sergeant major. So you walk in the room, people stand up. When you ask for stuff, you get it. And I'm like, I know I'm not going to get that, when I leave the military, but I wanted to figure out, just who I was and my place in the world. And so coming back to, a military community and seeing all of these people in positions of success, seeing you, and you were doing your podcast, and I'm just interviewing people because I was genuinely wanting to know, like, what are you guys doing? How can I learn about what I can do on the other side? Because, while you're in the military, the only thing that you really think about is the military and not really doing a business or anything like that. And so it was really good to see, people that have come from the service providing goods and services and being successful. It just intrigued me, man. And so I was enamored and just, a sponge trying to learn things that day.
What I think has been more than interesting, right, is since that time, that was August, September of 2019, which, by the way, it seems like I've known you for much longer than that. But then again, we lost a whole year to the COVID year, right? So it's really strange. But in that time frame, from not having a background of business, I mean, you had a background in business, and we'll get to that, but not having this business specifically moving the way it's moving, to see where you're at today is pretty impressive. It's a very short time to have the hood of a car, right? I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? But I'll tell you something that I've found amazing. So obviously most people that know me know that I'm sort of a social media stalker, but not in a bad way. I pop in on people's live videos to see what they're doing. I'll make a comment, great job or good job or whatever. It's like, man, Dino, I love what you're wearing, or hey, bro, you're doing great things. And I will tell you, and we'll get into the Veterans Growing America, but through these events that you're holding, I've got to watch you during the setup, during the actual event. And I think the thing that amazes me, right, that I really find intriguing and admirable is as you're walking with your phone and you're talking about this, every vendor, it's almost as though you've circled the wagons, you've brought back the troops, you've gathered them up, and they're right, you're back right where you were when you were a command sergeant major, because everybody wants a moment to thank you because you're smiling and they're smiling back, and you can hear the interaction, and it's so genuine. And that's the person in which I've learned to be Donnell Johns. And I think it's just an amazing thing for you in what you're doing. It speaks volumes of what you've accomplished and what mark you're leaving on our community, the veteran community, the spouse community, the family community of our service members. And I'm a fan, man. I'm one of the biggest fans you have, and I can't wait for you to get down here in a few weeks, and we'll talk that as we move forward. But with all that being said, let's kind of peel back some onions real quick, just for our listeners, so they can understand. I mean, obviously, we've said that you were a command sergeant major when you retired. I know you retired at the end, December 31st, I believe, of 2016, which was only a few months prior to myself. That was through conversation that we had at MIC only a few years later. But let's talk about what you did in the military. I remember you talking about being an administrative person. I think when you came in, it was a 71 Lima that transitioned into a 42 Alpha later. Right.
Yep,
well, let's talk a little bit about your entry into the military and then the time you spent, and then we'll go into the actual, the transition. But go ahead, man. Give us a little breakdown of what the career of Command Sergeant Major Dino Johns looked like.
Man, so I really, first of all, I love my time in the military, and I had an amazing time because I'm a people person. I love people, and I got to do a job where I got to interact with people all day and really take care of them. And so I joined as a 71 Lima administrative specialist, and this is a cool story because I had no idea in my mind that administrative specialists could go to war. I'm like, I went through my entire time during basic training in AIT. I didn't think that you could go to war. And during the entire time of basic training in AIT, everybody was saying, my drill sergeants, even TV was saying this Desert Storm thing is going on. And I wasn't paying attention to that. I was just like, I'm an administrative specialist. What am I going to do? Throw a typewriter at people? Why would they have me, go to war or anything like that? And my first assignment out of AIT, I didn't go to a unit. They sent me to grave registration school on my way to Desert Storm. And I'm like, really? Is this what you want to do?
I just signed up for the college money. I just needed the college.
it was crazy. And so I spent 8 months in Desert Storm. And then after that, my next assignment was Fort Eustis, Virginia. I love the Virginia area. In fact, that's where I live now. While I was stationed at Fort Eustis, we deployed to Somalia. We all know what happened in Somalia. That was a crazy time. Back during that time frame, when I was in, they didn't have this thing called the internet. There was no emailing anything. All documentation had to go from point A to point B through me. And so our headquarters was on the port of Mogadishu, and I had to go through Mogadishu to the university. And I mean, it wasn't pretty, I should say. But I survived. I'm here, And after that, I spent more time. I spent about 9 years in the active Army. And I met my beautiful wife while I was stationed in Denver, and I was working at the Military Entrance Processing Station. And they were trying to send me back to Korea. And my wife was pregnant with my son at the time. And I'm like, can you send me to some place where I could take my family? And the guy from the Department of the Army, told me, he was like, no, we can't. You're going to Korea. And I was like, I just came back from Korea. Why would you send me there? And I'm married now. Send me some place where I can send my family. And he was just like, no. And luckily, my ETS date was before my PCS date. And I ran into this guy. I was working at the Military Entrance Processing Station, and I ran into this guy at a high school giving the ASVAB test, and he told me about being a recruiter. And I transitioned from from the active Army to the Army National Guard as an AGR. And I spent my time from 99 to 2016 in the recruiting human resource area. I was blessed to be the first Army National Guard G1 Sergeant Major in Army National Guard history. And we did some great things. We improved the readiness of the Army National Guard by 30% in less than a year. And then from there, I transitioned back to the recruiting arena, and I was the recruiting and retention sergeant major for the DC Army National Guard, which is the President's Army. That is, I like to say that the DC Army National Guard has the highest ranking 2-star general in the Army, because the commanding general of the DC National Guard reports to the President of the United States.
Wow.
And we all know what could happen, in DC, and how important that mission is in the DC area. And so I retired in 2016 as the recruiting and retention sergeant major for the DC National Guard. And we did some great things there as well. We improved the readiness there. We had the highest end strength that the DC National Guard had under my leadership. And it was great, man. I just love people. I love taking care of people. I love bringing people together. And I just have fun doing it. It's, to me, you could just, why would you go to work not to have a good time? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no
They
doubt.
gave me a job where I got to talk about something that I love to do. And I was able to, when I say obviously we know command sergeant majors don't do much, but we influence through purpose, motivation, and direction. And so I was able to influence people to take care, to take care of their people.
Mhm.
And, we were able to do some great things, man. And I really had a great time while I served.
I think that's that. I think a lot of times, especially, I mean, obviously, look, I'm still within the military reach. I still have plenty of conversations, former soldiers that still talk to me, and I've never understood um, when a young soldier or an older soldier gets orders for recruiting school, retention school, the frustration they have by having to go do this, right? Recruiting or drill sergeant, right? Either way, it's not a desirable selection, right, or desirable assignment. And I think what they don't see is the value that it provides during and post military, especially recruiting. And I don't want to say drill sergeant is something that you can't lean on when you leave the military. There's a lot of stuff that it teaches you. I mean, just about your own personal self. I mean, your confidence. Recruiting, on the other hand, teaches you so much stuff about how things work outside of the walls of the military. I
Mhm.
mean, we always talk about mission, 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 mission. And by the way, I dislike it greatly when I watch some television show, and because every military person is labeled as like some robotic, I gotta do the mission, I can't, it's crazy to me. But nonetheless, but the recruiting, what we hear is the recruiting mission. But what we don't see from a non-recruiting side is the ability to interact and connect with people outside of the military to understand how things work. I mean, how things outside of our walls work. And I think that's a big leg up for those who serve in recruiting duty to understand it while they're in, and they still go back and be Army, because that's what you have to do. But to take the networking that you had while you were there, if you so desire to end in the place
Mhm.
that you were at, or just the ability to navigate in the civilian sector from a language perspective, the barriers that exist that a lot of transitioning military members have is a lot of times it's the demeanor, it's the language, it's the I don't understand or they don't get me. But I think recruiters have a significant advantage if they take advantage of it. And I would think, because by the way, on a Friday I was in Qatar. On Friday I submitted my recruiter packet. This is years ago.
Mhm.
On Monday morning I got a phone call from Tampa that said I was on assignment to Fort Jackson, and I said, "Wow, that packet went through quick." But it wasn't my packet. It just happened to be bad timing because I got selected for drill sergeant assignment on Monday. So anyway, I never became a recruiter, but I was a drill sergeant. But I wanted to be a recruiter specifically because I wanted to have the ability to navigate my way around a world in which I wasn't familiar. Because at that time, 20 years was not in my future. There was not the idea of staying in to retire. But nonetheless, I love your career story. I love the things in which you did, even the things in which you said, the influence you had. I would tell you I'm going to ask you about your transition in a moment, but I want to ask you, as a sergeant major, talking to troops all the time, did you ever? And this isn't to put you on the spot and paint a bad light. I just want to know, did you ever ask your soldier, what do you want to do? Because I think a lot of times we as senior leaders tend to want them to be what we see them as, or the potential that they have to be. So we drive them towards the path in which we took to get to those next ranks, right? This is how you become a sergeant major, young soldier, staff sergeant, sergeant first class specialist. But did you ever get a chance to sit down with a soldier and say, hey, what do you want to do? Did you ever get that opportunity?
So that was my entire recruiting strategy. And I taught my recruiters how to do that. I sat down, with uh, young potential recruits with a blank sheet of paper, and we talked about what they wanted to be. And I sat down and I just listened. They say, "Hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z," and I asked them, "How do you plan on getting there? What is the path to making it to that point? Who do you know that's in that position right now?" I asked those questions, and once I really understood what they wanted, then I showed them how the Army could help them get there. And the thing that I liked about the Army National Guard is I was able to make sure that that person kept their word and we kept their word to them. So if a person told me that they wanted to be a doctor, I'm asking the question, okay, did you enroll in school, in college, and what classes are you taking? And are those the right classes to help you become a doctor?
Right.
You know? And the thing that I really loved about the Army National Guard is I can assign them a mentor that is a doctor that can help them to become that. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so when you look at a person and you ask them what they want to be and you help them achieve that, because you can't be a doctor straight out of high school.
Sure.
However, I can make you a cook that can help you go to school to be a doctor, and you can pay for your education through the benefits of the military to help you become a doctor. And I can assign a mentor to you that can help you with everything that you need to help you get there. And so it's a win-win on both lanes. And so I even did that with my soldiers. Even when I sat down with their evaluation was about how do we mesh the goals that you want with the goals of the military?
Yep.
You know, because the military, I even started out with a question when I talked to the new recruits, and I asked them, I said, what is the Army? And they give me all of this stuff. I'm like, it's not that. The Army is you. I said, this building right here is nothing without you. Mm-hmm. And once they understood that, and they understood that, hey, if I walk around and I say, you know what, I hate this unit, what you're saying is you hate yourself. Yeah. You know, and so
it's a direct reflection, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's a direct reflection.
And so that reflection, I got them to realize that they are the military and the military is them, and they need to take care of it just like they take care of themselves. And so, you know, that was the whole mindset, the indoctrination of, hey, you are this organization. And it really made a difference in how people, you know, acted and treated each other.
Yep. No doubt. And I asked that question to move into the transition conversation because, I mean, let's be honest, and I'll tell you right now, and this is for anybody that ever listens to me, I will never tell you how to transition. Right. If you ask me a question, I'll give you some advice in which I've heard, because listen, I'm going to be honest. My transition was not hard. I mean, I retired and my official retirement date was September of 2017. But my last day of work was April 28th, right? Now, I will say this. I have not had a difficult transition, whether it be through employment or opportunities for jobs. And I've done what I've wanted to do pretty much, right? So I don't have the crazy stories. But the one thing I will tell you that I didn't have was someone asking me what I wanted to do. And you know, in the transition process, what I had was mentors that I've always had. I mean, mentors from when I was a young kid that had been out now for years. By the way, some of my mentors were specialists, right? That got out years and years and years ago, but they're out in the real world. And that they were able to give me some guidance on things I could look at doing or should look at doing and all those good things. But the one thing I didn't have were people in uniform still, because let's be honest, they don't know. And it's okay. It's not their fault. But to help me transition, they couldn't ask me, well, what do you want to do? Because they didn't know how to get there themselves, and or they're still working on climbing the rung, right? And that's okay. Mm-hmm. That's not a hit on them. But what I've found over the last 5 years is there's a lot of people on social media platforms, all of them, that tell you what you must do in order to transition successfully. And I'm the guy that says, well, let me bring this guy on or this gal on to tell you why that is not factual, because there's variables that exist. In the same manner, it was a variable that got you to CSM. There's other variables that got somebody else to a CSM. There's always different things and paths to take. So I'm asking the question about you as a sergeant major asking your soldiers, what do they want? As no one asked me what I wanted as I was getting out, the good thing was I knew. And I'm asking you specifically, I'm saying it to you specifically because I believe you and I kind of had the same mentality, as far as I want to own a business, not for any other reason, but I want to own a business. I want to influence people still. I, like you, loved my time in the military. Even the worst days in the military, I can tell you some funny stories that I remember in them. At the moment, it was none too funny and it really sucked, right? But walk away from that, I can sit there and tell you about days sitting outside freezing because it's raining and we can't go inside. We can't put our hands in our pocket. We can't wear an umbrella. All that stuff sucked. But it grew a group of people that have more stories. I still am friends with people from 1997, you know, that I had way back when that we shared those moments with. But as you decided to, okay, I'm gonna hang up the uniform. I'm gonna walk out and become Dapper Donnell. Hey, I'm quick with it, man. That was good. Anyway, I'm gonna come out. What was your mindset? Was it go work as as something in the commercial space as whatever general or a contractor or a GS employee? What was your ideas when you first got out after going through what was a decent transition program? TAPS is not a bad program, but it's just not. It's a 40-hour block of instruction, right? So when you go to a school for 40 hours, you're not supposed to be the subject matter expert. You're supposed to gain some stuff and then you work on it, right? So, but what was your plan when you got out? Was it to be a business owner right away, or did you have other options or other desires?
So I'd like to say that I had this grand plan, but I didn't have a grand plan. Um, I actually was helped by an Uber driver. So I knew that I wanted to do the same thing that I did. I wanted to be a CSM in the civilian sector. And I didn't know that there was a such thing as a leadership success coach. I had no idea that that was a thing. And so I'm sitting here talking to an Uber driver and I'm telling him that, hey, I want to be a leadership success coach. And he tells me that his sister is one. Mind blown. I didn't know it was a real thing. I thought I was going to make it something, I thought I was going to make something up and be able to sell this to the civilian community. And she told me, hey, he introduced me to his sister. I sat down with her and she told me exactly what I needed to do in order to be a coach, right? I wasn't a coach. I was a trainer. I didn't get the certification, but it blew my mind that that was possible. I immediately started my business the last year that I was in 2016, March of 2016, I started my business, which was a Vision Worldwide leadership consulting firm. And my first client was a high school, and I taught high school leaders how to lead and the basic principles of leadership and how to do that. Because they were coming from either a teacher to sitting in a leadership position, and you and I both know there's a big difference between doing and then having people do. And so I showed them, how to do that. And I was like, man, this is great. I'm gonna give me a whole bunch of contracts like that. And that was my first contract. And it took me about 6 or 8 more months to really get my footing, to, get clients. And that was a crazy time. And so my transition was really good. And then it got really bad because I'm like, I don't know how to find, any more clients. Nobody taught me how to do that. I happened upon, I was introduced to the principal of a high school, and they let me do this. They let me do some training for them, and it was amazing. Later on, I started being able to do work with the FDA, OPM, Lockheed Martin, and the Army and the Army National Guard. I did training for all of those organizations, and it was amazing, and I really loved it. And so it was a good transition, but I really didn't have an idea of a business. I wanted to be this big businessman, but I really didn't want to be this big businessman. I just wanted to help people out, love what they do, and teach leaders that, you don't have to be this stuffy individual for people to follow you and, support in your success. And, because you could have fun and do it and achieve greatness without being a butthole.
No doubt. And I think it goes to show. I mean, I think leadership is a taught thing. I mean, people say, "Were you born leader?" No, there's some teachings, and like you, I did the same, and it's really even more. I mean, to me, it was a little bit more. I don't want to say depressing because I wasn't depressed. I just knew April 28th was my last day working. September 1st was my last check getting, right. So I told my wife, I said, hey, listen, I'm going to open up a leadership development organization. That's what I want to do. I know how to lead. I want to be in the baseball space. I want to be in sports. I want to get involved. So, I mean, I live in Tampa, Florida. What better place to be close to the Tampa Rays, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Phillies, the Tigers, the Pirates. I'm right by spring training for everybody, so I can go around and I got the opportunity to talk to a lot of these folks and having conversation with them, eyes wide open, but they're not paying me $1, and it's cool, but I don't have the business sense, right? So
Right.
I knew I wanted to be a businessman with no business acumen, right? So it was very difficult for me at first. So when September came around and the checks stopped coming, I needed a job, and I didn't panic. I got a job. Like, I wasn't one of those guys that said, "Well, I'm going to keep working this until because I." But truth be told, I got 4 kids, a wife, and 2 mothers, that my mother and my mother-in-law, that I pay for, right? I mean, that they
Right.
live in my wife just graduated with a master's degree and got a job, but at that time she was being a mother that was raising young children. But anyway, so I didn't have the luxury of trying. I had to do something. So I got a job at a car dealership to learn how to sell, because that's what I thought my problem was. I couldn't sell. So I got a job there, and that was great. As a matter of fact, Brandon Ford, if you're watching, #1 F-150 dealer in the world, which they are, by the way, which is crazy. It's right here. But I say that because I learned a lot about myself, and the company itself is great. The people were great, but I knew that's not what I wanted to be for the rest of my life. I say that to say I'm in the same lines with you. I worked in something in which I love to do, because I didn't care about the dollar you're paying me. It was the reflection of what I knew, and I could impart on somebody else and watch the light bulb come on. And whether that's a teacher, and I talk to schools around here as well. So whether it's a teacher that is trying to get these kids to listen, but it's something about leadership it's a wonderful thing when people actually listen because they want to, not because they're forced to sit in this room and listen to whoever's talking. So how do you make them want to listen, want to follow? And I listen to you talk, and I'm telling you, Donnell, just in conversation, I'm ready to follow you. So anyway, that's just me just saying something. So the other thing is, I think it's interesting because I think there's a lot of senior leaders that try the leadership realm, which is fine, because I think they have a lot to give. But I think that a lot of folks, and I'm not saying you or me, that have the need to have their name on something and it's theirs. Because I believe that if Donnell Johns, Jeff Lodick, and 6 other great leaders in the military put their minds together, created this great company, because there's about 5 of them that exist that I know of, and they're doing great because they've done it as a team. I think that there's some benefit to that. But I also think that we want to have our cake and eat it too. I think we think we're good at what we do, and I believe that we are. All that being said, so now a vision, the leadership consulting, it's working, and then what happens to where you kind of pivot into where we are now?
So, Mick, right? And being in that space, and I'm like, there's something missing, because I saw a lot of organization that did training, and training is good. However, the execution of training was missing. I didn't see how, like, I went to Boost the Business, and they taught me how to put a business plan together. But how do you execute that business plan? How do you get somebody to sign that contract to get you to work? That's what I needed help with, and I didn't see anybody putting people in front of a customer and that customer buying from them. And I saw all of these great organizations doing great training, but I didn't see them with the next step of, hey, you know what, let me introduce you to a customer, let that customer do some business with you. And that's the way that you eat, And I'm like, people say, thank you for your service all the time, but I can't eat that. I can't do anything with that. I can't pay my rent with it. And so with Veterans Growing America, a person can support a veteran or military spouse entrepreneur in an honorable way. It's not just giving them a handout. It's paying into their passions, and getting something in return. If I buy a cutting board from you, I get to cut on that board and I get to take that home. And then you also satisfy something that I need. I make some money. And then you also validate something that I love doing. And so with Veterans Growing America, we put you in front of a customer, and it's a great feeling. And we also create a community of entrepreneurs. The loneliest thing in the world is being an entrepreneur. And every time you have a question, it costs you money. But if we have entrepreneurs together, because a person that sells hot dogs and a person that sells leather bags, it's the same type of business on the inside, but the product is different. We learned that in every unit that we've been a part of. I've seen first sergeants that come from, one, their MOS is this, but the unit that they're a first sergeant of is something totally different. Oh, yeah. Because leadership is leadership, and units all run the same on the inside. The product that they offer on the outside is totally different. And so when we put each other together in a space and work together in a space, it works so much better. And so we have a community of veteran entrepreneurs that are working together toward a common goal, that mission, right? And now when I have an issue, I'll be like, hey man, how do I do my taxes? I can call somebody, and that veteran may be a person that does taxes. Or, hey, I just sold this product. How do I create an invoice? What do I use to do that? You have people that stand to your left and your right that could help you, that are at different levels of entrepreneurship to be able to do that. And so we do, events where we bring people together, but they're not just together for one event. I put them in a group, and these people are supporting each other throughout their entire career as a entrepreneur now.
As they grow. And that's what I've really found that I love about what you do, right? So when I first got out and I wanted to, in that time frame that I from April to September, I traveled because I was doing my podcast still. So I traveled to San Antonio, Mill City, USA, a great community for veteran businesses.
Mm-hmm.
San Diego had a great community. I went up to New York City, I was in Chicago. It was decent. It wasn't a bad turnout there. I went to Washington State, and then I ended up finding my way into Atlanta, where I met Vetlanta. If you haven't met Vetlanta or anybody represented from there, you need to. I'm amazed by the veteran community in Atlanta, Georgia, just based on the fact that there's really no place. Like, it's not like San Antonio where you have 3 installations. It's not like McDill where you have Tampa. It's not like San Diego where you have Coronado, but Atlanta has just this conglomeration of amazing veteran community. So then I come to Tampa, and then that's when I started getting educated about the Tampa community. And you talked to Rosie a few weeks ago. I saw you on there. That's how I knew you were coming to Tampa. I was so excited. And Rosie with Action Zone, and she's done an amazing job creating a community with Valerie. Bunker Labs came down. There's just a lot of stuff happening in the Tampa area. And what I love about it is the same thing you said about what you guys do. You're bringing veteran businesses together to serve each other in a manner that's honorable. And then you bring people in that want to support veteran businesses. And that's having a marketplace of sorts to showcase the goods and products and services and all that stuff that they have. And I love that you teamed up with the Rosie Network. I love the fact that you've been, I think at this point, I'm going to throw a number out there. Tell me I'm wrong if I am. I think you've done 8. I think there's 8 that you've done thus far.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was thinking, because I saw pictures. I just can't remember, but I think there's 8. And anyway, if you could tell me what the expos are about and how, you've already said kind of the mission behind it, but you've been to a couple places. You're coming to Tampa December 18th, which is Saturday. So for you guys watching, if you're a veteran-owned business in the Tampa area and you want to be a vendor, reach out to Dino at Veterans Growing America. And did you close out the registration? I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, so it closes out today at midnight. But I'm how do I want to say this? If we get some people that want to do it and they message me, I can make some things happen. It takes a lot of work on the back end in order to make it happen. But, to answer your question about what it's about. And so AAFES gave us space for 30 veteran and military spouse entrepreneur. Right now we have 19. We basically set up, and we're going to be outside the exchange, and we're going to have a ton of people there selling their goods and services. Not only that, they're going to be there with their families. In fact, this shirt that I have on, this is a shirt that my son came up with. This is his brand right here, thirdconscious.com. And my son is a military dependent. And he, decided to come up with a brand. And here's a cool story. So Monifa, who's one of my vendors, has a company, Queen of Spades Style. Well, my son goes to almost every event and he supports the event on the back end of it, helping set up the tables, making sure that, the vendors are set up. He does videotaping of vendors and getting testimonials from him. He does all kind of stuff. But she helped him develop a brand, the mission behind the brand, and he has hats that he came up with. He has trucker hats that he made. And when I say that he designed everything on them, the circumference on your head, how the bill fits, the front of the cap, everything, the entire sides of it. But we develop a community of entrepreneurs that support each other the same way that we supported each other when we served. And, when we served, the guy to your right usually outranked you and knew a little bit more than you. And then the guy to your left usually was someone that was lower ranking than you. And your job as the leader, no matter where you are, is to make sure that that person made it to where you are. These veteran entrepreneurs are doing that same thing, not only during the event, but after the event. I have countless stories of so many different veteran entrepreneurs. In fact, CW Dressing is a retired first sergeant. This guy, Chris Whitehurst, retired first sergeant, started a dressing company and he sells dressing. CW Dressing made out of dates. We have another guy that was a Marine. He sells this stuff called Rip Pack. And Rip Pack is a waterless toothpaste that you put in your mouth and you swish around and it cleans your mouth out. Well, he was like, you know what? I think that this thing would do well in the MREs. And the first sergeant used to be a cook that worked at the MRE place, and he's introduced him to the people that make MREs. And so hopefully sometime soon you'll be seeing a white label Rip Pack toothpaste stuff in the MREs based off a relationship that these guys made at this event.
Outstanding. So there's so much more than just going to an event. I mean, the networking, the relationships, the family atmosphere. I mean, I can hear it. I'm just look. I'm looking real forward to the 18th for sure.
It's a great time, and then people make money. And when I say they make money, I really can't make any false claims on how much money they make, but people come out and they support. You guys have been doing a great job. In fact, I want to give a big shout out to Action Zone. I mean, they have been promoting the heck out of what we're doing. I want to, say Bunker Labs have been promoting what we're doing. The Rosie Network has been promoting what we're doing. And then you mentioned one other person, that has been helping us out. Man, it's just been amazing, the communities that you have. In fact, we have the Military Fresh Network.
Oh, Jimmy Cox.
Jimmy Cox is down there in Tampa. He's going to be
down here in Tampa, right down the street. Man,
and he's been promoting it on his page. I mean, I can't ask for more synergy and more love. I can't wait to make it down to Tampa, because I mean, I just got so much love, and I haven't even been there yet, and so I'm looking forward to just coming there and
you may not leave, Donnell. You Dapper Donnell might become a permanent fixture in the Tampa community.
I have stopped. You know what? I put on this jacket. Let me tell y'all the truth real quick. So when we came on this morning, earlier this evening, and I saw Jeff in his coat, and I just had this T-shirt on, and I was like, oh, I can't have you on there, because it's the uniform thing. We got to be a uniform. And so I couldn't have you in a suit jacket and me not being in a suit jacket. So I put on a suit jacket over my son's shirt because I wanted to, I got to match the host.
You do it. And I knew, listen, I'm being honest. I'm for real. I look up to I like fresh dressed people. I like clean dressed. And I'll tell you, every time I've seen you and everything you've done, you always got, I mean, it's not like you're suited up, but you got the casual dress, a scarf sometime. You always match. And like, I don't got a scarf. I got to go buy a scarf for the wintertime so I can look like Donnell, because you're always doing right stuff, man. I love it.
Thank you.
So I want to ask one, I mean, when we talk about the expos and understanding, and I know we talked a little bit about more than what you get from just the expos, but is there anything further that other than just the expos, the VGA, excuse me, I was about to cough, but Veterans Growing America, what else does it do? I mean, besides the networking, is there anything further that the Veterans Network provide, or Veterans Network, the Veterans Growing America provide?
So I like how you call it VGA. We make an acronym for everything, and so
I was reading it. That's the problem. I was reading it off your screen. I was like VGA.
No, VGA. That's what we call it. You know, I got to shorten it because that's a long name. But Veterans Growing America, we just started a platform, a social networking platform for veterans and military spouses, where we can communicate and collaborate. You know, Facebook and Instagram is nice, but we need a real place where we can collaborate, share ideas, and really take our organizations to the next level. And so we created a membership platform where you get on there, you're able to sell your goods or your services on our platform. We created an e-marketplace. In addition to that, you can create groups to be able to talk about whatever you want to talk about. We want to keep it positive on there, so all good stuff. And we just want a safe place where America can come and support what we're doing. Like the day of the event, those individuals in Tampa, that's going to be great where people can come out and support them. But we're also allowing our vendors to place their stuff on our marketplace. And so people can shop throughout the United States and overseas. They can come on our platform, veteransgrowingamerica.com, and buy from veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs.
Amazing.
You know? And so we just want to create a space where America can value us. You know, that's why we're Veterans Growing America, because first we defend it, and now we're growing America.
I love it, man. I mean, just the messaging is great, right? I mean, I love the fact that we can be viewed as a community, as a positive, in our community and in America as a whole, because again, you know, a lot of times there's negative connotations towards veterans and what we bring to the society. And a lot of times where there's stigmas, but that's not the entire group. And I don't even think that the majority of the group, I think the majority of the veteran community is amazing. One, they're amazing. Veterans are amazing people, just in my opinion. But the amount of value that we provide from a business perspective to America, it's in the trillions of dollars annually. And it's just an amazing thing that when we can be spotlighted from people like you that are doing the things you're doing to help our community be a positive influence and impact on America and just the society and culture in which we represent. I think it's amazing, and I appreciate what you're doing. And of course, Dino, I'm always going to support you. I mean, I'm telling you, you got a friend for life. I'm a fan. I'm actually going to have to take over Rosie's spot, because Rosie, I think right now, if we were to do a poll, Rosie's probably in the lead a little bit as far as the biggest Dino fan. But I'm going to have to go talk to Rosie, and I'm going to have to take over that spot because she's amazing. I want to ask you one last question before we wrap up. I want to say I appreciate your time, but if you had, and you do, because here's the opportunity. I was about to say if you had an opportunity, but you got the opportunity. So I want you to provide one, I guess you'd say, piece of advice or good word for someone that's getting ready to transition when they don't really know what they want to do, and whether it's business or going to work in the corporate world or maybe being a government contractor. What do you tell someone as they're approaching that precipice when they're about to leave the military? What is a word of advice you'd give them on their way out the door?
So, relationships. Build as many quality relationships as you can and tell people about what you want to do, or if you don't know what you want to do. You know, have as many conversations and relationship building activities as possible. My entire career and life is about building sustainable relationships with people. And I realized, and one thing that I learned when I was in is you can only show loyalty during the bad times. You know, people were like, yeah, that person needs to be loyal to me. No, they don't. People are loyal to themselves. And so if you ever have an opportunity to take care of somebody when they're down, do it. And at the same time, if you're in the transitioning process, network as much as possible, ask as many questions as possible, and build as many relationships as possible while you're in, because those things will pay dividends while you're out. And be good to people always, no matter who they are. You know, that's the advice that I have.
I'm gonna take so for all you listening, right? So if you don't, I mean, obviously if you watch this, it's good. You don't have to hear it again. However, I'm gonna download it, edit it, do all that good stuff to it. And I'm gonna throw it out. All my episodes will come out on Apple or any podcast player, just the audio version on Monday mornings at 05 for your ride in to work. But I'll tell you right now, what I'm gonna do is, Donnell, I'm gonna go through this and I'm gonna pull out this last segment specifically, and there's many others that I'm gonna pull out quotes, and I'm gonna actually post this for the next week. Things that you said that just they killed it, man. I mean, again, I think you listen to me talk. I gotta check this audio when I'm not on, because I'll tell you, I just shared something on Facebook today. A memory came up 3 years ago. My daughter's 6 years old. 3 years ago, we were at the circus, and I don't want to get this and labor this point, but she was walking sad. She had her face painted, and it was beautiful. And she's just a 3-year-old girl, and she just had this little pouty look. And she goes, "Daddy, can you give me powers like Elsa from Frozen?" And I said, "What?" And she goes, "I don't have any superpowers." And I said, "Baby, smile." I said, "That's I said, you'll brighten a whole room by just smiling." So she smiled a little bit. And then what I did was I acted like a dad and smiled too. And we walked around to people. And I promise you, and this happened, like, it's not just me making it up, but we walked around, and as she would see people, she would smile at them. And the reflection that she got just from a smile, and there was no words exchanged. And then they'd say, "Oh, she's so cute." But she at 3 years old recognized how fast people's faces changed when she delivered a smile. So being good to people is just that. Be good, because it's going to be reflected. You're going to get it back. And I mean, I teach. That's one of my main points that I like to drive home to almost anybody. But Donna, that was perfect. I'm telling you, I'm going to cut out the quotes. You're going to be on my Facebook groups and everything for the next week as I prepare for the next episode. So I'm just going to blast all this because it's perfect. All right,
I got this thing called emotional math, right? And I used to just think about it when I was dealing with my soldiers, and I was thinking about math, right? Something negative, if you add two negative things together, they get more negative. Negative plus negative is negative. And so if a person is negative to you and you're negative with them, nobody wins. The only way that you de-escalate that situation is by being positive. And so when that person is upset, a smile, you know what, hey man, I'm sorry, or whatever, if you de-escalate that situation, one of you guys will win. And I promise you, from any perspective that you're looking at it as, if you're in an argument with someone, nobody's winning that argument. There's no way that anyone can use, or they'll just lose from it. And so that emotional math, always think about it. Okay, if they're negative, I got to be positive so we can bring this thing down. And that has worked for me in so many different ways, because who likes to be yelled at? Who likes to argue? Nobody likes any of that stuff. And who cares who's right if you both lose?
At this age, Donnell, I got to tell you, man, I'm done arguing. I just don't have the energy, the patience, and hell, I don't need any outside influences impacting my positivity. I'm a positive guy, so I don't need any of that nonsense. So I agree. Hey, real quick, I wanted to just address Alan. Alan had made comments, and I wanted to say thank you, Alan, for stopping in. I'll make sure that Donnell, in the conversation, I'll have him send me some links so we can get this on this conversation, just so it's refreshed during after this is done. And I'll also share the links on my groups in which I'm at, as well as LinkedIn. Alan also, Sergeant Major Halliburton, he'll be on my show. We have plans. We'll work it out. And if you're still watching it, but look, before he comes on, I got to go shopping, because you're right. That dude, listen, look, I like suits, man. I got about 12 of them, but none of them. Look, I asked him, I saw a picture. Mark Halliburton, Donnell, have you met him or been able to link up with him on any?
I'm looking at this suit that he's wearing from the comments, and I haven't met him, but this guy's, I'm gonna just go back to my t-shirt, because I'm not trying to compete with nobody.
Yeah, listen, I'll tell you. So Freestyle, I think it's Freestyle Fridays every day. It's a Facebook group. I was introduced to it a while back. He and I met after the fact, but it's his group. I'll send you the link, because it's amazing. Very inspirational guy, awesome guy. But I'll tell you, he put a picture up and he's got this suit on, and I told him, hey, listen, that's a one-time wear, meaning you wear it one time and then send it to me, because I want to wear it. But yeah, if we start trying to match with him, oh man, the dollars are going to come out, because that guy can dress to the tees. But anyway, hey, listen, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. We're moving on. What I will tell you this, Donnell, I am so pleased. beyond pleased that you came on to this show to share time with me, with the folks that listen. For all you that listened, I appreciate you taking the time to do so. If you want to catch any of the episodes I've ever done, they exist. I got like 50 of them, right? I mean, I've been doing this now for 5 years. I'm actually, I think, the longest running transition podcast. I just took a break, right? So we're on like season whatever. I don't do seasons. So I just took a break to do some other things. But please catch up with it. Apple Podcast, On the Other Side, Leadership After Transition. Go to YouTube. You can see all the videos that I've done with guests. But Donnell, in less than 18 days, because it's the 1st of December, you're going to be here in Tampa. You and I are going to have a great day together. We're going to Facebook Live at the same time. We're going to do The Rock and Kevin Hart. You know, ever see where they've done a Facebook Live? Me and you are going to do that from the event, because I'll be there early in the morning, and we're going to spend the day together. And I can't wait to see what Tampa does to support the vendors and which are coming, and more importantly, to welcome you to a city that we already love you. So I just thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, and I look forward to so many more conversations. But yeah, that's all I have for tonight, man. You got anything any final words, boss, before we roll out?
I do. So when me and Jeff met, we did a video together. And so I'm going to release that video next week of me and him. It was like 2019. So
what, 2 years?
Yeah, it's been 2 years. And so I'm going to release that video. You guys may not recognize him because his beard was about that long. It went, a little further, but
oh yeah,
man, that was a great day. Thank you for allowing me to be on this podcast with you. And what do you say? Market your son's shirt. Oh, my son's shirt, thirdconscience.com, the number 3RD conscience.com. You can find his stuff there. I'm so proud of my son. My son graduated from college, and he's going to be a doctor. He's a bio-pre-med student, and I'm a proud dad, so I'm gonna wear his brand. In fact, he's gonna be selling his stuff at the event. So if you guys are in the area, please come out and support it. Thank you again, Jeff. I'm just so happy to be here. If you guys want any more information about the event, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Veterans Growing America, on all platforms, and then go to our e-marketplace, social networking place, and join. It's free for 90 days, and help us grow that community, because it was launched on the day that we had the NASCAR event. And thank you for bringing that up.
Man, that's amazing, man. Like I'm telling you, listen, I don't want to go for 3 hours. Actually, I could, because the one thing, listen, what I'm going to promise, I'm going to give my word right here. So in front of Alan, because I don't know who else is watching, I'm not sure, but listen. What I'm going to do is when the marketplace open, I'm buying a t-shirt from your son. I'm going to wear it at that day. So I might wear a suit, but I'm going to have that shirt on under. So I will do that as a promise to support your son's brand. But I will tell you this, and I'm doing this not because of you didn't ask, and more importantly, I'm doing this because I know the love for your family, right? That we didn't go down this rabbit hole. I didn't let the conversation go that way, which if I did, it would have been perfect, only because I know the amount of love you have for your family, right? I mean, I've listened to plenty of you times you talking, meeting you when I talked to you when I first met you, you talked about it, and I know how proud you are and how much you care about them and how much that's impacted your life, not just in the military. I mean, you brought up a point when you said, "Hey, they're going to send me to Korea. I want to be with my wife and my baby," and then throughout your career and up to now, you're still supporting your family, and you've been married. I think I don't want to throw it out there the amount of years, because I know you've been if I recall, I'm not going to give the exact date. You've been married. You got married I'm just doing the math. So I joined the Army in 1997. You've been with your wife longer than I was in the Army. So I don't want to give up ages, right? I don't want to start bringing up ages, but that's a big deal, man. And I think that it's amazing what you do and how you love them, and how every time I see a picture of the Veterans Growing America, you and your wife are there. I just love the fact that you guys do it as a family, and that's what Veterans Growing America is about. Is you guys are doing it as a family to let business, the entrepreneur, the veteran, and their spouses, and whichever way that's man, woman, or woman, man, or whatever, however it works out, the spouses matter. And I will tell you that I can't tell you any more than how much I love that idea, because we know that entrepreneurship is a lonely place. And if you're doing it alone, it could bring on some stress with family. So if you're doing it together, there's at least the stress that you're both feeling,
Yep.
and you're understanding how to move forward with it. So, Donnell, I'm telling you again, I love the fact you came. I appreciate you being here, and I look forward to so much more of working with you and just doing better things. I mean, I just look forward to our friendship. So thank you so much. And with that being said, man, I'll let you roll out, and that's all I have. Until the next time, on the other side. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.